I'm currently down 10 pounds, getting leaner and maintaining strength. I've tried a ton of different things, but here are 10 things that not only made a difference, but are pretty easy and affordable to implement. I don't know if anyone else has seen those videos on Instagram about what 10K steps and a calorie deficit will do to somebody. Those videos are 100% real. So first thing we need to start doing is walking more. And I've already said this a ton of times in my videos, but now I have some actual proof that it actually works. Walking at minimum 10,000 steps is a game changer. And the reason why it works so good is because how easy walking is. It doesn't really take a huge toll on your body. It doesn't get you tired and fatigued. In fact, I've noticed it's actually quite the opposite. Sometimes I'll walk to just clear my head. I'll pop open a podcast or an Audible. It's so relaxing and it's helping me get leaner. So you could use your phone to track your steps, but there are plenty of experiments online that show that your phone isn't entirely accurate. Something that is a little bit more accurate are fitness wearables. I personally have always used the Whoop. That is something that I live and die by. But whether you're using Oura Ring or an Apple Watch, having something to make sure that you're hitting your benchmark when it comes to steps, like I said, that's just an absolute game changer. Now, like I said, that is definitely an obvious thing to do, but the next thing is probably something that you're not doing, and that is resting more. I'll be honest, I find it quite insane that at this point in time, I am getting leaner and leaner, despite the fact that this is the one time in my life that I don't train every single day. Since I started training around high school, my mentality was just grind it out every single day, and that is what it's gonna get me results. Come to find out, resting is not only very important for your overall health, but resting is very essential for you to actually build muscle. And not only that, one thing to keep in mind is exercise is only about 10% of your overall calories that you're burning through the day. You are easily burning more calories when you sleep rather than actually training. So if getting lean is your goal, then focus on actually resting. So as far as training goes, I only lift 2 to 3 times a week, but since it's such low quantity, I really make sure that my workouts are intense. I am still trying to get as strong as I can. So I'm lifting heavy and still focusing on progressive overload. If you don't know what that is pretty much tracking your strength, making sure that week by week, I'm either trying to get an extra rep in or I am increasing the weight just by a little bit. Another thing that I do is make sure that I'm lifting in the morning. Like I mentioned earlier, since I'm prioritizing my sleep, I try to keep away really strenuous activities right before I'm going to sleep. Let's say you're going to the gym or you're going on a run before you go to sleep. Since your body's trying to repair what it did, your quality of sleep will go down. So speaking of sleep, here are a few more things that I do every day to make sure that I am getting the best sleep that I can. I always make sure that my AC is turned on. I just noticed I sleep way better and way more comfortable if I'm sleeping in a cool room. Now, this is obviously just a preference, but I keep my apartment around 70 to maybe 68 degrees. I also try to keep my room as dark as possible. For me, one thing that helps a ton is a sleep mask. I honestly used to think that was just for middle-aged women. It's not. Having a sleep mask to really get rid of any light that might be coming at you, that is just another game changer that I swear by. If you want, you can take a sleep aid. I will advise against too much melatonin. If you're taking too much melatonin, by the time you wake up, you're still gonna have some in your system. So when you wake up, instead of feeling energized, you're gonna feel groggy because you still have that melatonin in your system. Another thing you could do is get sunlight as soon as you wake up. Doing this consistently is gonna balance your circadian rhythm. So hopefully by the time you are ready to go to sleep, you are nice and tired and you are gonna knock out like that. The next thing I do is meal prep. I'll be honest, I'm a terrible cook. So as important as this is, sometimes that is really hard to follow through. But having food that you enjoy ready to go, that has made a huge difference in my physique. And since sometimes I'm a pretty lazy guy and a terrible cook, one thing that I love is meals from Factor, sponsored today's video. This is a service that I genuinely love and I've been using for quite some time. And right now they just doubled the size of their menus, which means double the seafood and double the protein, which is again, something that I focus on, especially in a mini cut, which I'm currently on. These are chef curated meals delivered straight to you and ready in 2 minutes. This makes eating clean so easy. And in my opinion, I've truly never found it easier to hit my protein goal every single day because you're able to choose what kind of meals that you get from Factor. Whatever you're prioritizing, for me, that is protein. I'm getting high protein meals that are good on calories, which has been really showing in my current physique. And take it from somebody who hates counting their macros. Factor makes it really easy because you know exactly what you're eating. Each specific meal has its own nutrition facts straight on there. So you know how many calories you're eating, how much protein, and any micronutrients that you're tracking. And right now it's way more affordable because you could use my code Ramirez FB50. That'll get you 50% off plus a free breakfast. So huge deal right now. Again, you could use this code at factor75.com or the first link in the description. So going back to what I said earlier about focusing on protein, that is one thing that I cannot live without, especially while actively getting leaner. But one thing to keep in mind is a huge mistake that everybody makes. If you're just focusing on protein, it is really easy to slip up and consume way more than you need to. Say for example, all you care about is protein and sure, you hit your protein goal, but you are no longer in a calorie deficit because alongside your protein, you ate way more calories than needed. So although I have a good protein goal, to me, it's not the end of the world if I don't exactly hit it. And that's also another reason to not only just focus on protein, but also focus on what you're consuming alongside your protein. More specifically, choosing where you get your protein from. Outside of the meals that I'm eating every day, I also like to consume protein bars that are low in calories, high in protein. For me, David is the best one. That also includes things like Greek yogurt. These are my absolute essentials, and this makes it really easy to consume a lot of protein without eating a ton of other unnecessary things. All right, this next one is definitely a personal preference, and that is running. But again, by no means is running essential for you to lose weight. But while exercising, I think it's so important to actually enjoy what you are doing. This is gonna make you way more consistent and actually make sure that you are doing what you need to do. I find running actually enjoyable, which is why I also do it 2 to 3 times a week. Sometimes that's a short run like 2 miles, all the way up to 10 miles. I actually just ordered some new running shoes, the New Balance 1070s. So excited to get these in. That is yet another thing that I use very often to lose weight. Now, one question that I always get is, what supplements are you taking? One absolute non-negotiable for me is creatine. While doing an aggressive cut, a lot of people are worried about losing muscle mass. I'll be honest, I do feel like I did lose muscle mass, so I really started doubling down and really making sure that I'm consuming creatine every single day. This is gonna store water in your muscles, helping you maintain mass, especially during a cut. Another thing creatine is great for is restoring your ATP. If you don't know what this is pretty much gonna help you minimize fatigue, especially in the gym. So you're able to push harder, again, making you stronger. Overall, it's not necessarily gonna make you leaner, but it is gonna keep your muscles fuller while losing weight. That being said, I do drink a ton of water throughout the day. Not only is this gonna keep me full, but of course, staying hydrated is just wildly important to stay healthy. And aside from water, one way to always make sure that you're staying hydrated is electrolytes. That is another essential that I use every single day. The next thing I use every day is caffeine. If you haven't noticed, I have an espresso machine right behind me. So I drink espresso every single morning, not only just to wake up, but also caffeine is gonna suppress your appetite. One thing that always held me back from actually losing weight is spacing out my meals properly. So the easiest way that I found to make sure that I'm consuming less food is just narrowing down the window of when you should eat. Just keep in mind, don't believe the myth that fasting is just burning fat. This is solely just to help me consume less calories. So I typically eat around 11 a.m. down to 5 p.m. That's usually 2 to 3 meals depending on the day. This is still keeping me full, again, with a ton of protein. That also makes sure that late at night, I am not going out to eat fast food or just binging on something that I shouldn't be eating. But the one thing that has made a huge difference is actually tracking my progress, just making sure that I am staying on track. So getting something like a scale to weigh myself every Friday. That's just when I like to do it. Right now I'm 158 pounds, which is insane. This is the first time in such a long time that I've dropped below 160. Keep in mind, 3 months ago, I was about 180 pounds. And 1 month ago, I think I was like 176. So yeah, I'm making huge progress. I definitely feel like I am slowly starting to look my best again. But another thing that I like to do is just set up my camera, take pictures of myself, and week by week, making sure that I'm losing fat, hopefully maintaining muscle, especially in the areas that I notice it most. The way my genetics are, I hold a lot of fat around my stomach. So despite being pretty lean, I don't have abs just quite yet. That is something that I need to train on more. But again, progress is different for everybody. So just making sure that you are actually making progress week by week. Give yourself 6 to 8 weeks or even longer. You are going to become unrecognizable. Another thing you can do to become unrecognizable is lock in on your fall wardrobe. And here's a video to show you exactly that.